Hey, what's up YouTube? It's K-Rod here. I'm back with another good video for today. Oh my god, for all you boxing fans that saw the fights last night. Unfortunately, my brother in crime, the homie Christopher Pitufo Diaz, lost in a third unlucky charm to Emanuel Navarrete by late TKO stoppage. His corner threw in the towel when there was only 20 seconds left in the 12th round, and Chris got knocked down 3 or 4 times in the fight, and unfortunately Navarrete beat him for the 126-pound WBO featherweight title. This is a really bad loss for Chris. I'm gonna get to that real soon, but let me just make my fight card reactions to all the fights that happened. The first fight I'll start with is the Jeremy Adorno fight against I forgot that one Mexican. He's some 22-year-old Mexican fighter, but I don't know what his name was. He was a good fighter. But I'll just say Jeremy's opponent, for short, description. But no, that was a good little 4-rounder for Jeremy. Definitely went the distance. He got hit, too many times by that left hook that Mexican threw at him. They're both southpaws, so the hard part is just that Jeremy had to find a way to not let this guy hit him, with a shot that he would assume would be the tougher shot to get hit, because 9 times out of 10 southpaws always get hit with that left hook and that right, and that straight jab, because the whole tale about a southpaw puncher is southpaws are naturally deadly with straight with a straight punch or left hooks. And the deadly curse of a southpaw is getting hit with the left hook and let the straight right jab, because even if you face an ortho, the ortho can use a left hook, but then they use their right number 2 jab to counter your left hook towards them. So it's pretty much a lose, it's a negative plus or minus type of situation. And I think I think stylistically Jeremy had a really good young fighter that was just as hungry as him, that gave him a very good fight. And it didn't seem like it, because Jeremy, he was hitting this guy, and this guy, he kind of walked through Jeremy in a way. But that Mexican definitely could have been stopped, and Jeremy could have been stopped. Jeremy actually got tagged a couple times in that fight. It was a very difficult fight, but I think either way, it was just the type of fight where you knew that that shit was not going to go just a couple rounds. It's just styles make fights, and that is why boxing is just the type of sport where everybody has to go a certain way to do their thing. But the issue was just that Jeremy, he could have done better. He could have made that fight a little bit less punishing. He did his thing. Definitely had everything right into the fight, and I wish him nothing but the best, because he's a good fighter. Same thing with his brother, but I think with that layoff, kind of threw him off a little bit. But I hope he does better, and all the best. I wish him nothing but the best to him. I love him, as a fighter, and I support all my Puerto Rican fighters, ride and die every single day, 24/7. Taino por siempre. So let's get on with the next fight. I was going to talk about let's see. I was gonna talk about the what was the other fight? Jeremy Adorno, Joseph Adorno, Oh yeah. Orlando Cruz or Orlando Capu Gonzalez. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Joseph Adorno versus Jermaine Ortiz. This fight was like a very interesting fight, and I knew this fight was gonna go the distance, but I wasn't really expecting anything different from the fight alone. It was a very difficult battle, but I was not really thinking like that fight itself was going to be a very tough, hard fought victory, but or no hard fought battle. And the problem was just that Joseph Adorno he's not the type of guy to really be rusty, and I think like when he fought Jermaine Ortiz showed a lot of holes in his game, and I think from that fight alone, if you watch the fight, it was a very difficult fight, and I was literally thinking Joseph was going to be a bit more disciplined with his defensive technicality against Jermaine. And I love Jermaine Ortiz. He's a very good fighter. I hold no thing against him. I liked watching him fight ever since he fought on the Triller undercard on whatchamacallit. Yeah, on the Mike Tyson, and I think yeah, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. undercard. I thought that fight either way could have been a very good fight, but I was not expecting this to be a war. I really thought it was actually going to be a very good chess match, which it did. Don't get it twisted. It did, because Jermaine he did things that I thought he wouldn't bring Joseph to the table with, and he made Joseph think in that fight. And if you watch the whole fight, you guys will understand why these two guys definitely showed out their toughness in the division. I really do believe that this fight could have been a knockout, because both of these guys did bring a lot of power to the fight, and a lot of those power shots really came from left hooks and a lot of right jabs. I don't think they're southpaws. I think they're orthodoxes, if I'm not mistaken. But still, it's like Jermaine Ortiz and Joseph Adorno stylistically made a fight look like a fight, and it was very hard fought, and it was very difficult. I really give a lot of credit to Jermaine more than Ortiz, because I thought Jermaine, he was a lot more active in the fight. He let his hands go. He didn't let Joseph really stun him. I mean, Joseph really hurt Jermaine a couple of times, and I think Jermaine was like a bit chinny in that fight. I could be wrong. Maybe he just got caught by like a shot he didn't see, and 9 times out of 10, that's when you really do get hurt in a fight. I really thought Joseph, if he used a lot of his jabs early, then Jermaine wouldn't have gotten in front of him, because Joseph was like the bigger guy coming into the fight. But Jermaine, he had a lot more pressure in the fight, and he made Joseph uncomfortable in the fight. So I think either way, like, these guys really benefited a lot from the fight. But unfortunately, this fight had to go to a draw. And I really had a draw, because I was like, nah, these guys really banged it out. If you see the fight, like, the fight itself was just very, very difficult. And I never really thought this fight could actually go the distance of being a draw, and I literally thought Jermaine won that fight. So my solution to this is that these two need to run it back again, and I would probably say Jermaine, he can knock out Joseph, but either way, either guy really showed why the 135-pound division is very stacked, and that pretty much showed that when you got two young lions, if not dragons, in the ring, you have to expect that one will be more savage than the other. And I believe Jermaine, he would definitely win that rematch if it were to go his way that night. But either way, much respect to Joseph and Jermaine. They showed out. They showed true Puerto Rican, you know, Puerto Rican style and I wouldn't even say style, more like Puerto Rican pride, and definitely gave the fans a very deadly, hard fought, battle. I literally thought either person could have been hurt very bad, but that's why it's boxing. I really like the fight either way, and I really hope these two can rematch in the future. Alright, let's talk about Mr. Josue Vargas versus Willie Shaw. This fight was actually very difficult for Josue, and I was very surprised that Josue actually came to fight, but he wasn't expecting to get hit around by Willie Shaw. It was pretty weird in a way, and I think Josue wasn't expecting Willie to come out very aggressive in this fight. I really thought Willie was just gonna be the type of guy where Josue, he was going to maybe do a little feel out process, touch him here, touch him there, and then when Josue turns it up in the third or fourth round, then Willie gets knocked out. But no, Willie actually gave this man a fucking fight. If we even look at the fight, or if you look at the fight, Willie was throwing them hands, and Josue almost got knocked out. So what does this show about Josue? Does Josue have a weak chin? Does he have a glass chin? And I don't think the answer is yes yet. I think Josue, he was being careless on defense. Because certain fighters can take punches. But when you are a fighter that does have a lot of lightweight ability to move around more, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get hurt in a fight more, because one, you're yes, you you may be 140 pounds, but that does not mean when the adrenaline kicks in, those punches do hurt, regardless of what round it is. And I think Joseph probably got tagged in certain spots by Willie that made him red alert to be okay, I actually gotta play, I actually have to, be smart in this fight. And he made the necessary adjustments to readapt himself to beat Willie. But the fight itself, it was very rough. Willie was hitting him. He was moving him around. He was moving 10 times more than you would see Canelo Alvarez did. And then Josue, he did everything in his power to make the fight a very inside fighting type of fight. And I thought Willie did a very good job. Willie made Joseph think in this fight, and Joseph made a lot of adaptations that made Willie a little bit uncomfortable in the fight. And I think Josue, he could have easily lost this fight, because it seemed like from the first round, if you watched it, Willie was just hitting Josue with all those loopy shots. And I mean, remind you, I think Josue was a little bit shorter than Willie, and Willie has a longer arm reach than him. But even with the longer arm reach, Willie was actually getting touched less compared to Josue. But when Josue was hitting him, Willie, he did feel the power of Josue. But when Willie was making the pressure build, or when he was building pressure against Josue, Josue was feeling a little bit loopy and droopy from the punches, because it seemed like Willie was being a lot more collected with the punches, and he chose the right shots to calculate more damage to Josue to make the fight rough and dirty. But either way, it was a very good fight. All respect to those guys alone. It was a very hard, difficult fight. And I actually thought that Josue could have let that fight slip, because that fight was a stay busy fight. That fight was not supposed to go the distance according to a lot of people. But the issue is that if Willie gave Josue a problem, then what would that mean for all the other guys at 140 that faced Josue? How would he do against Brandon Lee? That's a good question to ask. maybe guys like Subriel Matias, Kent Cruz. I probably wouldn't even think those guys would ever need to fight him, because I guess that the plan would be, yeah, whatever Puerto Rican star or contender could actually make it to a world title, it would be best to like bring the titles back to Puerto Rico and then challenge challenge a contemporary out of the Puerto Rican stable of the division to, have the titles maybe like rotate that way. But I don't really think that would actually be the type of mindset to have, because let the champion who would probably go undisputed would have to still fight a mandatory here and there, which would that would only be like once a year. But then after that, when you fight like one of like your own people that are ranked in either a sanctioning body, I actually wouldn't mind that. That's actually like a pretty good plan, because if two Puerto Rican fighters are like world champions out of the sanctioning, out of like the four sanctioning bodies, like two championships for one Puerto Rican fighter out of the WBC IBF, and then two for and then two for the other. That's a pretty smart idea to, just bring the titles back to Puerto Rico, and then boom, you have like your undisputed 140-pound champion. But either way, I think Josue, he's good. He's not no washed up fighter. He knows what he has to do to make the fight, to make the fight adaptive to his style. And I think a lot of fighters know their limits and know their strengths. So I think Josue, he's just gonna go back to the drawing board and make that fight, a fight for him to learn and get better. And I think next time you see him around, he's gonna be dominating a lot of people. And I think that fight alone is gonna be a very good step up fight for him to learn from, and then the tougher competition that he gets matched up with in the future, it's gonna prepare him to be a much more dangerous fighter for a lot of guys that probably doubt him. But let's talk about some of the other fights. I talked about Joseph Adorno, Jeremy Adorno. Josue Vargas. Xander Sayas, he knocked out his opponent. I think his name was DeMarcus Layton. I don't know that guy, but basically he knocked out his opponent. Great first round knockout for Xander. That opponent wasn't really too much of a challenge. I actually thought it could be a bit better, of a guy, but I guess that was more of like a stay busy type of fight. So I think I would hope in the next fight it's gonna be like a well seasoned welterweight rising prospect or contender type of fight. I was gonna say maybe Vito would be a good fight, but knowing that he got beat by James Martin, I think it could be a fight with I don't know, like there's so much good talent at 147, but for a guy to match up with Xander, I would probably say, give me 1 second, because I know what the names. It's just I don't know like what would be like the great opponents that would actually be a good fight for him, because right now he's ranked 135 in the world. This guy, no, that guy's not really worth. Yeah, he's not really worth a fight. Yeah, I wanna. No, no. I was gonna say Ryan Martin, Cowboy Martin, but he fights at 130. I was gonna say maybe Rashad Mahdi. That would be a good fight. Mark Reyes Jr., who we recently saw lose to Janelson Figueroa, or Janelson Boca Chica Figueroa. I wouldn't mind to see him face Kendo Castaneda, or maybe Logan Yoon. No, not Logan Yoon. I mean, even if we go up to number 2 slot, Blair Cos would be a very good fight. Brian Sabayo, I would not mind to see that fight. I think that would make Xander go the distance, or even Adrian Granados. If you put him with Granados, even though Granados he's a seasoned vet, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Harold Calderon, not really the best fighter in the world, but I think that would be an easy victory for Xander, or even Giovanni Santiago. Wouldn't mind that fight. Paul Kroll, heard a lot of great things about him. Very, very good fighter. Like to see that fight if that could be made. Eddie Gomez, very, very, very dangerous fighter, I hear. This guy, he be knocking people out, but he knows how to style on people. Even though that he lost to Rashidi Speedy Ellis, I actually wouldn't mind to see the fight with Rashidi Ellis and Xander. But I think Rashidi, he's like where he's at in his career, he's definitely wanting to go for like a title fight. So I don't know. I think that fight could be made in the future, but if that doesn't get made, maybe Florian Marku. I actually wouldn't mind that fight. Florian seems to be the type of fighter that thinks that he's the best fighter in the world, and I think Xander would give this guy issues, and Xander would start hitting Florian to a point where Florian gets knocked out, and I think that's going to be a fight of the century, to have a former Olympian fight a young rising contender prospect. But I think either way, Xander he's ready for a lot of tough guys, but I don't know how Bob Arum's gonna move him. I would hope he gets a very difficult opponent, because this guy DeMarcus Layton, I didn't really think this guy was like too much of a good opponent. I mean, he's only gotten stopped twice. Well, the first time was to Jesus Rodriguez. That was a difficult fight. Yeah, that was a 5th round TKO loss, and now he got KO'd again by Xander. So yeah, I don't really think that fight alone should have been Xander's fight, but the James Martin fight really made Xander's victory over him get better, because James Martin just beat Vito Monecki. So I give a lot of respect to James Martin showing the world of who he is, to give Xander's credibility up there. But I mean, he's young, so I'm gonna stand behind Xander, but I don't ever see Xander avoiding any top competition. I think Xander's gonna be like the type of guy where he's just basically gonna pull a Sub-Zero and just take everybody down. He's just that good. Like I think he's like a little mix of Miguel Cotto with Felix Trinidad, but he's like a very like Wilfredo Benitez type of guy, where he doesn't need to go in on you. He just needs to defensively be gifted in the fight, and then he just dominates. And I think that's where Xander's mindset is at, and that's why that I asked him about the matchmaking, because I really do think a lot of people don't give you enough credit for what you do, because you could take everybody out, but the issue just still remains that what will the opponents bring to you in your career as you progress? Because I kind of think he's being I feel like Xander's being put in the same boat as Shakur Stevenson, because Shakur Stevenson is going through the same outcome similar to Xander, where if Xander does beat a top guy and he doesn't get enough credit, then how does that help him build in his career? And will he get enough credibility to the point when it comes to a title fight? Then what does Xander do? Does Xander just let the fans bring him down, or does he keep moving, and then he goes for that world title, and then he unifies, and then he does everything what he needs to do? And I think Xander, he's definitely on his way to reaching contender status. I'd say in like 10 or 15 fights down the line, which I know that's like a very long time, but I think with Xander's dedication in the sport, he doesn't let anything go right past him. He's very dedicated, and he focuses a lot on in all of his fights that he trains with. And I think Xander will become a multi-divisional world champion. That is a fact. Like, he's definitely gonna be another image of, Wilfredo Benitez in a way. Probably even similar with Danny Garcia. I wouldn't say he fights like Danny, but I think, like, when you put legacies together of how fighters start out, he'll definitely get credibility where it's earned. And I think with Xander training with top level guys at the welterweight division, or guys that used to fight at welterweight, or even guys from other divisions like Danny Jacobs and all these top level veterans, I think that speaks volume for Xander. Xander's not going to let any of these guys bully him around in the ring. He's gonna find work where work needs to be done, and it's good that he's training with top level athletes or top level fighters that are gonna bring him to that next level where he doesn't need to ask for handouts. He just needs to ask for people's respect and people's advice, where he knows he needs to work on his game and his toolbox, and then boom, he's gonna be absolutely dangerous for anybody at 147. I honestly would even think, like, if he makes it to that point to facing Jaron Ennis or Virgil Ortiz, that, like, those fights will be very dangerous, if not deadly. But if Xander comes in with defensive, with like a high defensive mindset, IQ, definitely giving those two fighters problems. That's really how I'm seeing that fight. And I think the issue is a lot of people don't give him enough credit, but when his credibility gets up there, he's gonna be up there. So let's talk about Mr. Edgar Berlanga versus Damon Nicholson. This fight actually was a good fight. I'm not gonna lie. I actually love watching this fight. The issue with this fight alone was just simply due to, I guess, Edgar's urge to try to go for a knockout. But I don't think he really wanted that knockout. I think Edgar just wanted to end his little, first round KO win streak with more technicality. And I think you actually saw the boxing ability of Edgar Berlanga. Definitely boxed very well, very intelligent. He did a lot of things that a lot of people wouldn't expect him to do. He started using his feet a little bit more. He started being a lot more, a lot more technically gifted by giving Damon very deadly shots, but he barely even needed to try to receive punishment for it. I think Edgar really made that fight look like a real boxing fight, where he didn't need to use that much power just to get Damon, to a point where he actually got hurt a lot. But I think Edgar, he used a lot of fundamentals that made his game a lot better, and he actually really just styled on him. It was a type of fight where Damon could have been knocked out. He got knocked down a couple times, but Edgar made this guy live, I would say, and he really gave that guy a really tough fight. But either way, very difficult fight for Damon. It seemed like a walk in the park for Edgar, but this victory alone really defined Edgar's boxing ability. But I don't think Edgar really needed to use too much movement. He just used a lot of good inside-outside fighting, and he just knew where to place his shots at the right time. He's a very motion-type fighter. And what I mean by that is that he uses a lot of motion with his jabs, and he doesn't make you think what the jabs would do. But I guarantee you, if he had more combinations to the body, and then leading that with uppercuts, Damon definitely would have gotten knocked out a lot sooner. Because, Damon was using good boxing technique, but he wasn't using a lot of movement especially to a guy like Edgar, which I believe Edgar knew, where the fight was going to head to if Damon, wasn't keeping his defense up, which he did a very good job, but I think, the issue was that Damon, he hurt his leg, and it seemed like his right leg got injured, and that's what made Damon, actually get knocked down to a certain degree. But the knockdowns were kind of bullshit too, because the referee actually started, calling knockdowns for knockdowns that weren't even knockdowns in the first place. So basically, Damon went through, I think, 2 knockdowns that shouldn't have been called knockdowns. Basically, he just slipped, I guess, when his leg kind of gave out, and the referee called that a knockdown, which was just absolutely bullshit, and I don't understand why. Honestly, I really kind of felt like it should have just, those 2 so-called knockdowns should have been ruled as a slip. But, the very first knockdown probably had to have been in the, 4th or 5th round. Edgar did tremendous, gave Damon a fight, and, it definitely became a boxing fight brawl type of way. Edgar used a lot of good defense. He really didn't even need to use too many punches to hurt Damon. But I think what Edgar had to do more was use his body shots more and jab more consistently to the body. Because if Edgar did that, he definitely would have gotten Damon out of there. But the problem is just that Edgar, he's not the type of guy to be how should I say, to be standing in front of you. He makes it seem like that he's just he's just a come forward telephone booth type of fighter, but he's really not. Edgar Berlanga shows that he can box, and he could use defensive IQ on you, and once he masters that, and once he has how should I say, a James Toney type approach to his fights, I will guarantee you Edgar will become a multi-divisional undisputed world champion, because I really do think Edgar, he has the tools to win, but I think with this fight alone shouldn't have gone the distance, because Edgar was actually hurting Damon to the point where Damon, he should have been KO'd. But I think this fight should have been a Kevin Newman opponent in front of him. I just don't understand why Edgar's not acknowledging a Kevin Newman fight, because when Kevin Newman makes his name at 168, Edgar's gonna be left with no choice but to fight him, because Edgar, he could duck him, but I really hope not. I would really like to see that fight between those two. I think it would be a very interesting fight to see. And the issue that still remains is that, what Edgar did tonight to Damon, how would that translate to a Kevin Newman type of fighter? Because I think Kevin Newman stylistically is a very bad style matchup, but I don't think it would definitely be a beatdown. It's going to be a chess war match, and it's going to lead to a lot of defensive technicalities, where you would actually have to think, how do you place your punches right to a guy that knows how to outthink you, or he knows how to move the same way as you? Because if Kevin did the same thing what Edgar did to him, that would be a very, very extremely difficult fight. And I really would hope that that fight could be made, because I do think Edgar, even if you were to lose to a guy like Kevin Newman, that fight will make him better, and Edgar will definitely be more educated with his skills. And even if Edgar does beat Kevin, it that's a good name on the resume to solidify your career. But either way, I hope that fight gets made, and much love and respect to Edgar Berlanga. No hard feelings. I just want you to fight the best. That's all. Let's talk about the main event. This fight was very, very bad to watch, but all love and respect to my brother in crime, Christopher Pitufo Diaz. He unfortunately lost to Emanuel Navarrete in a late 12-round stoppage with 20 seconds left. Uh, this fight could have really went either way. I felt like Chris was thinking too much about hurting Navarrete because Chris did look bigger than Navarrete, but Navarrete's awkwardness, which I should have even said from like Willie Shaw's style, Willie Shaw's awkwardness was less awkward compared to Navarrete. But if you looked at Shaw and Navarrete, like they were almost kind of similar. I don't know if they're brothers in a way, but I don't know. Like literally, Emmanuel Navarrete fought like he fought like Emmanuel Augustus that fought Floyd Mayweather, which gave Floyd Mayweather a lot of problems before he got knocked out. But that awkward style where he kind of fights like he fights like a awkward orthodox, but he switches it up to a southpaw where he has great motions and he knows how to loop a punch very, very well. But his defense is really not that good. So I was like really thinking like Navarrete was going to make that type of fight a very like outside fighting type of game. And I think Chris underestimated that type of style. I think Chris didn't look at what the punches were, which I think he did, and I don't want to disown him. I think Chris didn't see what was coming in the fight, and he had to get a clear understanding of how Navarrete fought, and like inside the ring, so that way he could get a better view of where that fight was gonna go. But unfortunately, Chris lost the fight. The very first early rounds, Navarrete, he was hitting Chris in very irregular positions where I thought Chris, he could have easily just countered it. But I guess with Navarrete's reach, that's what made Chris's, defensive pedigree come to a halt, or to a sense where Chris, he wasn't moving around much. Like I would even say that too. Like if Chris moved around more, Navarrete would have had a lot of issues trying to hit Chris, and Chris, he could have easily thrown body shots, like the whole fight. And then when Navarrete gets hurt, then you could start turning up the gas, because Navarrete, he was hurt in the fight. I forgot what rounds he was hurt, but he was hurt to the body more than to the face. Navarrete does have a good chin. I will, admit that fight alone, trying to headhunt wasn't a good idea for Chris. I think Chris was too focused on trying to get a headhunting battle done with Navarrete, and that wasn't a good idea. Navarrete is not the type of guy you try to headhunt, especially in a world title fight. I thought Chris was going to use a lot more inside fighting, because Navarrete is not the type of guy to like body shots. If you even take a look at it with any of his fights, he does not like the pressure to the body, and I think that's what Chris should have done in this fight. I still personally thought Chris could have won this fight, but he was not being disciplined enough through his trainer to start going after the body rather than just trying to jab Navarrete. People thought like Navarrete was too much for Chris, but I don't really think so. I just thought Chris, he did not utilize his tools in the inside more, and he just tried to focus on hitting Navarrete on the outside with a lot of loopy punches that got him hurt, and Navarrete, got him with those, irregular, awkward punches that made Chris get knocked down a couple times, leading to a knockout. And I think when Chris started trading with Navarrete, that's really like the biggest no-no that you do with a fighter that has the ability to use his awkwardness as a means of a advantage to hit you at spots that you don't see. And I think that's really like the biggest issue with awkward fighters. Awkward fighters always give very irregular punches, because you don't know where those punches are gonna come from. He may be throwing a left hook, but he's throwing a jab. It may loop to be a left hook, but he's using a jab to to charade your vision, to make it easier for him to go after for other combinations. And I give a lot of respect to Navarrete for showing those blueprints of what he's about. But I think what Chris should have done, if he worked to the body more, Navarrete would have gotten knocked out. But what Chris tried to do, he tried to work to the outside, and he used a lot of unnecessary, inside trade blows with Navarrete, which it didn't make any sense. He should have just used jabs, like where he does like a little 1-2, get away, and then he uses his feet, and then he starts using a lot of head movement to still work the body, and then Navarrete can't do anything because you slowed him down. He can't use his punches. You nerfed his ability to use loopy punches, because once you start hitting the body more, he can't use his punches no more. There's no point in a way where Navarrete recovers, and then Chris, he could have easily knocked out Navarrete. And for any I guess hating trolls that probably would try to dick ride for Navarrete, trying to say, oh nah man, not Navarrete's style was too much for Chris, man. You gotta acknowledge that, styles make fights, man. Well, yeah, I know styles make fights, but stylistically Chris should have beat Navarrete. And the problem was that Chris did not use his style enough to adapt away from Navarrete's pressure, which Navarrete, he didn't really pressure Chris. He just caught Chris at really good points in a fight that made Chris, be a little bit careless, where he started using a lot of coin flip actions that really got him hurt in the fight. And he took way too many risks that worked in Navarrete's favor. So I think Chris, he got frustrated with Navarrete's awkwardness. So he figured, okay, let me just try to bang with him, and that wasn't a good idea. So I think when Chris started using the body shots on Navarrete, that was the blueprint to beating Navarrete, faster. Because Navarrete, he got hurt in a couple of those rounds due to body shots, and I think what Chris failed to do was that he failed to use the pressure more to not let Navarrete recover, because when you get somebody hurt to a body shot, that gives you the ability to hit them with a mix-up to the head and the body, and then you can start throwing overhands. You can start making the fight like a real fight, because Chris, he can use a lot of pressure to make a fight go his way, but the issue is that if he's not going to close the show, then that is why Chris probably does not win world title fights, because he's not using pressure at the right time for him to win his trades in a swing round, for him to progress more development in a fight. And I think if Chris did that, like I said earlier, Navarrete would have easily been defeated. I don't think Navarrete is really that dangerous of a fighter. I mean, yes, he is dangerous when you let him go his way of gaining the tempo and letting him gain his stamina, where he has this little power spike where once you kind of use up most of your punches to him, he kind of absorbs that, and then he uses that against you, and then he has this drive to get very, very antic with his punches, and then he starts throwing a lot of combinations where he's very awkward with his punches, but he actually hits you with them. So he's very, very technically gifted of using ferocious offensive ability to know when to hit the opponent at the right time. And I mean, I credit him for that, because he has a very good style that makes the opponent a little bit frustrated, but very afraid at the same time to not want to get hit by those awkward punches. But I think those punches alone showed that Chris, he should have been able to use his head more, and then Navarrete can't hit him because Navarrete knows that, if those punches were not able to hit, then he has no choice but to take punches from the inside, or Chris would have to be pressured by Navarrete's inside fighting, which I don't even think Navarrete would be able to do that, because if Chris were to have a inside fighting game all night long, Chris would easily win that, because we've shown that, or we've seen from the fight, that Chris's body shots were a lot more deadlier to Navarrete's, inside body shots, where Navarrete, he really doesn't have this power. He just has awkward punches that makes those shots, become a lot more deadlier in the fight. Because if he had power, he definitely would have dropped Chris in the first round, and it definitely would have made Chris break down a lot quicker. But Chris didn't do that, or Chris didn't actually respond bad to that. It just seemed like that Navarrete's awkwardness made Chris lose that fight in a very dramatic fashion. And I think if Chris made the faster adjustments, he would have easily won the fight by KO, or even majority decision. I think Chris will be a world champion. I think Chris just needs to go back to the drawing board. He can easily become a contender again for the title, and I think the fourth time a charm will make him a world champion. I really wanted to see him win the fight, because that will be the second active Puerto Rican world champion of the world. And I don't think Navarrete really deserved that win, because Navarrete just had a fight that favored his punches to hit Chris at the right time. Basically, he just got lucky in the fight. I think Navarrete, he will be defeated, but I do like his attitude that he fears no man in the ring. He's willing to go after anybody. If he chooses to move up to 130, because this guy had said that he's planning on moving up to 130. Navarrete is way too big for 126, so his body could easily grow to 135 or 140. But I probably even say 147. At 147, he'd be taking everybody out. But no, just for that alone, Navarrete's awkwardness and his body type really fits well to a higher weight class, where maybe his punches could be a lot more deadlier, but maybe let the speed of it will probably go down. But definitely at 130 or 135, very difficult fights to be made with a guy like Navarrete going up against high level competition. So I think if he fights like a guy like Shakur Stevenson, I think Shakur would style on him, but Navarrete would give a good fight to the point where Shakur would basically pull a Floyd Mayweather versus Juan Manuel Marquez, and that fight would definitely be a lot more educated, but that fight will be a brawl. Yeah, basically, it'll be a brawl for it all, with a mastermind defensive chess match type of attitude. But unfortunately, Chris did not win. I really hope he wins. Much love and respect to you, Chris. I love you till the very end of time and forever after. Much love and respect to all my Puerto Ricans, all the Puerto Rican fighters that put their time and dedication to the sport of boxing. I really hope that Chris does become a world champion. I think Chris is already built for one. It's just that he has a couple more tools to fix, and Chris, he will defeat Navarrete if they were to rematch again. I just think Chris, he did not utilize the right tools and the right mechanisms to beat Navarrete in the fight. And I think Chris, he just probably gassed out a little bit too. He wasn't using the right tools to beat Navarrete. But if Chris does stay at 126, I want to see him dominate, his division first before he thinks about moving up in weight. I think Chris will be a champion soon, And I would hope he becomes undisputed. I think Chris has a very high chance of doing that. It's not like he's out of he's out of title contention. Just because you lose a title fight for the third time does not mean that the fourth time is going to be the same way. And I personally don't think like that. Like I think Chris is on his way to dominating a title first, and then he can unify, and then he's on his way. He got plenty of time. He's only 26, very, very young lion. I think Chris is on his way to success, because I think this fight alone really made him better. Even though that he lost, but Chris is going to dominate everyone now, because now this fight would probably make his career a lot more serious for him to focus. And not to say that he didn't focus in the Navarrete fight, it was just that he didn't use up the right tools and mechanisms to outsmart Navarrete. And I think Navarrete, he just had it lucky to him. So, I personally wouldn't put that, as a high priority victory, like high priority loss of my career. If I'm in Chris's shoes, I'm going to use this as a good stepping stone. I'm going to say, fuck you, Navarrete. I don't give a fuck that you beat me, because you beat me off some bullshit. But I'm going to use that, get better, beat the living crap out of everyone at 126, and then get your title. Probably unify all the titles, because I don't know if Gary Russell's going to stay. I would hope he leaves. And then Chris can basically just take over 126, because there's really nobody else at 126 that I would even think that really would be a problem for Chris. I think Chris is basically in the he's in the same shoes as Danny Garcia, but just a little bit lower in tier. I think Chris is definitely on his way to being a world titleist soon, even though that he did lose. And I hope Chris could just let this loss go past him. He doesn't use this as a mental breakdown, and just go back to the drawing board and just dominate once again. I felt like this fight really could have went Chris's way, but unfortunately, Chris probably did not expect the awkwardness being a little bit of a problem to his expectation from Navarrete. So that's really what made that fight very difficult to watch and see. But I really hope Chris can feel better from that fight, and I just want to see him win a title, and if not, go for undisputed. That's how I see it with Chris. I think Chris is a tremendous fighter, and I wish him nothing but the best. Same thing for Navarrete. I don't think Navarrete deserves to become a world champion, even though they did beat Chris. But I think Navarrete, he's on his way to getting stopped by somebody that's gonna outstyle him. But I hope Chris does what he has to do, and I see Chris winning a title in the future. But that's pretty much what I gotta say. Fuck that fight, man. I'm not just pissed because I support my Puerto Rican fighter. It's just because certain fights just didn't make any sense, and I would really hope next come around, if Chris does challenge for a title again, he can really win that belt and beat the crap out of everyone, and I can see it in him. He's a very talented contender, and same with Navarrete. But besides from Navarrete, fuck that fight altogether. But that's pretty much what I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed that. More to come. I'll probably cover more fights that are coming up in the future. We got Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, my boy, my brother from another mother, the Mexican homie. Love you, homie. And the Scottish homie. Love you, all you Scots out there. That's pretty much what I gotta say, man. Be sure to like, rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought about this fight. Did you think Chris did a decent job, to say the least? Or, what do you think that should have been done on Chris's behalf? And what did you think of Navarrete's performance? I think this fight was like a good fight. I'd like to see a rematch if that's ever to be a thing. But I actually thought the fight card was good. A very first ever all Puerto Rican fight card. I really enjoyed it. That fight was very interesting, and I hope to see more cards like that in the future. So yeah, that's pretty much what I gotta say, man. I had a good night last night, and hopefully next week's boxing could be the same way. So yeah, that's pretty much what I gotta say, y'all. Thank you guys for watching. Much love to Christopher Pitufo Diaz and all the Puerto Rican legends and greats and boxers of all time. Alright, thank you very much, and goodbye. Peace.